Monday recap in the NBA continues right here on the Early Line, Sirius XM channel 159 on the SportsGrid network. It's a Monday morning. It's Davis and Donnie. And in Boston yesterday, a 2-touchdown favorite for the Boston Celtics over the Miami Heat. They easily covered that in a 114-94 final over the Miami Heat, which saw the Boston Celtics win the first quarter by 5 points, the second quarter by 10 points, the third quarter by 17 points before cruising to that double-digit plus victory. Now, the one thing that you can say is, when you're on your home court, Davis, you typically shoot better at home than you do on the road. But I don't know if anybody saw the Boston Celtics going 22 of 49 from three-point range, 45% as a team. And my goodness, if your defensive strategy for the Miami Heat was, you know what, let's just leave Sam Hauser wide open in the first half so he can just crush three after three after three and put us away, that's what we found out. The Boston Celtics, as we know, are a really good basketball team, but I think they set the tone for the series at Miami Heat. Not this year, pal. Not this year.
I mean, what do you want the Miami Heat to do? They are without their best player. They have had to play, they've had to play more basketball games than the Celtics. The Celtics are the best team in the NBA by like any metric. They have almost doubled up the second team in regular season net rating, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Their bench players can all shoot threes, even if they're not great defensive players. But as the Miami Heat, how do you even want to punish the Celtics for playing Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard? I guess you just have Hierro put Hauser or Pritchard in the action as much as you can, get them up to the point of attack. But then you have, these great interior defenders, you still have Kristaps and Horford there at the rim. Like it's not an easy solution. I know Spoelstra he's this great coach, and everyone has so much respect for the Miami Heat organization, but they're totally outgunned here. It would have been a long shot even if Butler was able to play, but he wasn't. So when Butler's not playing, that means you're giving minutes to Haywood Highsmith. That means, Jaime Jaquez has to play 35 minutes. It's just not really that fair. And this is what we should expect. Anyone who is, I guess, there's just sort of the meme that like, oh, the Heat, once they get to the playoffs, they really turn it on. They lock in. No one can score against them. But that's not going to pertain to the Boston Celtics. Like the only way you're able to get the Celtics in a bind is their late game offense. Like if anyone had a criticism of the Boston Celtics, it's really just of their late game offense. And there wasn't a late game offense to be played here. When you're up 30 points heading into the fourth quarter, it doesn't matter. There's no pressure. So the Celtics are just going to, I think, steamroll here. And I think we probably see a 4-0 sweep here.
It looks like it's going to be. And again, as we know, like the Celtics have always had a pretty good bench, but in the playoffs, even shortened that bench. So 8 total players played for the Celtics. But if you're going to get performances like Hauser, 4 of 6 from three-point range off the bench, Horford, 2 of 5, Pritchard, 2 of 5 from three-point range, it's going to be hard because that Avalanche is coming from that oh-so-talented offensive starting lineup here for the Boston Celtics. Easy victory for the Celtics all the way through. And if we reset the series, well, I don't know how much, is this a parlay piece for us, Davis, that we can use? Moneyline Celtics, minus 50,000. You have the 40-1 price here if you're taking a look at the Miami Heat on this series. Boston, minus 3.5 games at a minus 154 price, which means the sweep needs to come. If you look here just for that gentleman sweep and would take the ticket down at 3.5, you get a plus 126 price if you're backing the Miami Heat. Series sweep here, now the favorite at a minus 170. If we see 7 games, congratulations, you're getting a 19-1 price. So if I ask you, we expect this from the Celtics, they're tremendous on their home court. What can the Miami Heat do without Jimmy Butler in game number 2 that can look anything different than what we saw, Davis, in game number 1?
I mean, Bam was very good in this game. 24 points on 18 shots, got to the line. I suppose one of the biggest issues is they only shot 6 free throws as a team, which means they got to the line 3 times in this game. I mean, look, you're just not going to win playoff games at that kind of discrepancy, especially when you only make 12 3-pointers. I suppose if they really wanted to get weird, if Spoelstra really wanted to say, you know what, I am going to use everything that I've got, I'm throwing the whole kitchen sink at it, I think they could start Kevin Love instead of Nikola Jovic and just go all in on trying to shoot. We're coming in and we're going to shoot even more 3-pointers than the Boston Celtics. We're going to have Hierro in the pick and roll with Bam. We're going to have Kevin Love spacing. Oh, and they could start Duncan Robinson over Jaquez as well. So that would be, that's a very bad defensive lineup. I don't know how you get stops with that lineup against Tatum and Brown. but they didn't get stops anyways. So if you can't get stops even with your best defensive lineup, maybe you just say, screw it, and let's try and shoot our way out of this. And if we think back to their successful playoff run last year, I mean, they just got those crazy shooting performances from Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. Like, there was a stretch of the NBA playoffs where Gabe Vincent was shooting over 60% from three for like an entire series for the Miami Heat last year. Nikola Jovic is not going to do that. Caleb Martin is not going to do that. Jaquez is not going to do that. Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love could do that. Now, are they going to give you anything on defense? Like, is Kevin Love, what would you even do with Kevin Love on defense against this Boston Celtics team? I guess what you could do is you could try and match his minutes with Al Horford's minutes, because Horford is not going to move. So Kevin Love can at least be on Horford and try and get in his way, get his hands up so that they're not able to do that offense to the top of the key with Horford. That's all. That's really all I got. I mean, I'm not Eric Spoelstra. I'm not a genius like he is. That would be my one suggestion: is you start Duncan Robinson, you start Kevin Love, and you just say, we are going to shoot 47 3-pointers in this game and just try and make half of them.
Yeah, not being able to hide anybody on defense. That's why you see some of that matchup zone that comes out here. And look, if you're going to be knocking down 3-point shots against the zone, you're going to bury your opponent. That's what the Celtics did. How about a game that we saw basically a double-digit favorite and a total of around 220 go way under, and the home team doesn't cover, but they still win. Home court advantage matters. Oklahoma City, 94-92 over the Pelicans in this game, which saw identical scores in the first and second quarter. 17 apiece in the first quarter, 26 apiece in the second quarter. A 6-point win in the third quarter by OKC was enough to carry this game, but it was tied down the stretch. But OKC pulls off this game. Yet a pretty good balanced scoring attack here from the New Orleans Pelicans. And also, we want SGA to step up. He did yesterday, 28-point effort, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. OKC gets the 1-0 series lead over the Pels.
They do. I believe the Pelicans were the only team in the first games of the first round to be an underdog that lost but ended up covering. You know, that's such a thing in the NBA playoffs. These teams are just, they basically, the good teams just totally pull away because starters stay in longer than they normally would. The Pelicans gave a good account of themselves without Zion in this game. Brandon Ingram, again, not very good. You know, who's better? Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy the third, just I think is really, really underrated for the Pelicans. And I think that there's been some allusions to this from national writers, which is there's a little bit of a politics problem there in the Pelicans locker room because Trey Murphy is probably their best remaining offensive player, but the team is not built that way. You know, the team is built around playing with CJ McCollum at the point of attack, and Ingram is their primary, isolation scorer. But Ingram was bad in this game. Valanciunas, this is what people said about the Thunder coming in, was they don't play with a center. So if you play a big center against them, he can just completely dominate you on the boards. How about 20 rebounds in 29 minutes for Jonas Valanciunas? 52 rebounds as a team for the Pelicans, only 44 rebounds as a team for the Thunder. Is that going to be a problem against other teams? Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem against the Pelicans, but it's for sure going to be a problem against the Nuggets. You know, I don't know what you do if you're Oklahoma City. Maybe they have a chance to figure it out here playing against Valanciunas and against Larry Nance, but this one, I think, again, much like Celtics Heat, I just think is going to be over pretty quick. I think this is a 4 or 5 game series in favor of the Thunder.
Yeah, and Valanciunas, 9 offensive rebounds by himself in that game. If we take a look quickly at that money line price, OKC now a minus 1,300 price to take this series. And if you're looking for this game to be a sweep, that's a plus 220 price. The favorite now, 5 games, so a gentleman's sweep in favor of OKC. But I think that's a big victory for OKC, getting their playoff feet wet here with a victory in a close game, face some adversity, and they handled it nicely. We'll see what they can do in game number 2. How about the Lakers? Same old, going up against those Nuggets. We're going to go over that game next. Game number 1, woohoo, let's do it.